Hello and welcome to our February 2015 SendMyAd Tips and Tricks training webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to cover a few topics that are new and little used in some cases. There's some things that perhaps you haven't seen before, haven't come up, but we'd like to show you some features that really might be useful for you. That includes a new user-customizable info display. We'll show you how that ties into an older feature with custom metadata. We'll show you international language support. This is something that has been around for quite some time, but we've recently added some new languages and tried to shore that up a little bit. We'll show you how you can use that, how you can customize it, and perhaps make the site available to a wider community of your users. And lastly, we'll show you a quick item, but it's something that a lot of people don't know that you have control over, and that is being able to manage the frequently asked questions. So self-help resources that you can hopefully give your users, your advertisers, some first-line support and try to anticipate some of their questions and concerns. A little housekeeping before we get started. The GoToWebinar software has a zoom button that will let you expand the image to cover the full screen. I have a fairly large monitor, so you might need to adjust that in order to see everything in the demo. And if you have any questions, feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar control panel or software, and we'll answer those at the end of the session. So without any further ado, let's get started with our product demo. Okay, I'm going to log in as a publisher user. And I'm going to show you something that is, it'll probably be a review for you. This is probably something that you've seen before, but it ties into this new feature. So let's go to our company profile. And under each of the various types of ad, you will see a custom metadata option. Now, in my demo publisher here, I have all the various ad types enabled. You may not, but I have print ads, digital ads, and tablet ads. So you may only see print ads, but you may also have these that I do as well. Now I have a full set of metadata customized that I've done for various demos. So you'll see they're not completely relevant, don't make a lot of sense, but for example, I have weather, and that was an example of a common delimited data set that appears as a select menu. So there's various options here. And where those come into play is when I look at a print ad, it's going to show me that stuff in a special section up at the top of the left ad panel. So right up here, there's this information section. And you can see, for example, there's the weather. And I'm able to select whatever choices I had there. I have a check set and all of that. Okay, so that is something that I control at my company level. So all of my company users, when they log in, they're going to see that information panel. And it's my opportunity to both create completely custom fields or to highlight certain information or maybe rename certain information. So some of the labels that we give to our fields that we track, like say, I don't know, booking number, for instance, or materials ID. Maybe you reference those using some other name. Well, you can rename those and they'll appear up here in the information, as well as pull it up to the top so that it's accented and made more visible for your users. Okay, well, the new feature is extending that and making it available at a user level. So it's easy enough to do. You just go under the Add Details, and there's this new little widget here to manage custom details view. I don't have anything displayed here yet, so I'm going to add one. And I'm going to pick, let's say booking number. And let's say I call that, or I want to reference it as book number. Maybe it's something that I use a lot in my workflow, and I want to make it really stand out. Okay, so let's do that. And let's do a weather, because that was a totally custom one. And again, I can name it whatever I want. Okay, and now you'll see that once I make those changes, it redraws that section for me and it gives me that information. Now, you'll notice that the other stuff that was here before, there were several other custom fields, those are gone. And that's because whatever I set as a user overrides what was set for the at the company level. So when a user does this, they're really saying that, you know, whatever the company provided, that's great, that's fine, but it doesn't really apply to me, or I want to maybe augment it by selecting all the various custom fields that were there and then adding to it, adding whatever is most relevant for me. Or, you know, maybe that stuff just doesn't matter to me, and I want that to, you know, to only show me the stuff that I'm interested in. So it's important to understand how that hierarchy works and what, you know, that the user level overrides your stock stuff that you've provided as a company. It can be a very, very useful feature, and that will apply to every ad that you look at. It's not just that ad, of course. Okay. The other thing too to remind you is that if I take a look at a tablet ad, that of course is going to show something different. And you'll see that I'm showing book number, okay, but that is coming from my company profile, and it's coming from a whole other area in the tablet ad settings. Again, manage custom metadata options. And this is what I set up at the company level for that metadata. Okay, so we're going to always show the user setup first, and if there's none, we show the publisher customized set, and we do that based on, separately, based on the type of ad that we are looking at. So that's how that works. It's as I said, it's a brand new feature. It's one that's really not known yet, but it was the result of some customer feedback, and we hope that you'll find it useful as well. Okay, let's move on to company languages, internationalization support. This again is set at the company level, and if you go into your company profile, you can go to Manage Languages. You'll see a list of the available languages in the site, and you can add whatever ones you want. You can add as many as you like from the list, and you can even set one of them as the default, which means that whenever anybody hits your site, it's going to load that language first. Okay, and I'll show you where that can be changed. Okay, let's do that. I've added recently Spanish, so log out very quickly. And if you've not seen a internationalized site in SendMyAd, then you won't have seen this menu. But once you have added more than one language, you'll have the ability to select it. And this will reload the site, and you'll see that it loads in some translated text. And now when I log in, you'll see that the site has, again, on the left panel, we've got all Spanish text. Okay. Now, the neat thing about this is if I go back into my company profile and I go to Manage Languages, if I click on one of those languages that I've selected, it will then load the list of site text. So everything that we display in the site appears in this big long list. And we show the English and then, of course, the translation value. So what we do when we add a new language is we provide a basic set of translations, and they may be of various quality. It depends on what our source was, how good our translator was, and of course with language there's always variations in how you want to translate a certain phrase. So you're able to go in and customize any of those. So you simply just change the text, and these are all editable fields. So you make whatever change you want, and once you've changed anything in here, you'll need to publish your translations. So you click the Publish Translations button, and what that does is it basically refreshes the text for any users that select your Spanish language when they log in. So your changes will appear the next time that they log in. So this is really helpful. And the other really interesting thing about this is the button up here, Add New Phrase, and then a way to add more than one at a time. And there's two reasons why this is useful for you. One is that, try as we might, there's SendMyAd and Virtual Publisher are really big applications. They've got a lot of features. There's a lot of screens in here. We're constantly adding new features and editing old features and making fixes and things like that. And sometimes we'll forget to add a phrase to our master list. But if you log in and you see it and you think, well, I've got this phrase that needs to be translated, you don't have to wait for us to add it. You can actually add the phrase and add the translation. So that's one reason. But the other more useful thing is that there are bits of text throughout the site that are custom. So for instance, I'm going to log out and switch back to English. And actually, let me show you how to change that at a user level. If I go to my user list and I go to my user account, you'll see the language right there. Okay. And that will change. If I, back at the login screen, I change back to English, it will update that value. Whatever you logged in last becomes my default language. Or I can just refresh the site after I do that. Okay, well, let me switch back to company profile and show you what I mean here. If I go to my print ad settings and I go to, let's say custom metadata options. That's a good one. So I made up weather and large text field and extra options and custom number. Those are all things that are particular to my site. Nobody else has those, and so we don't know what those are. We can't add those, but you can add those as translatable text entries in our list. So you would just go back to your language editor, add that, and give the translation. So that would appear translated for whoever logged in to your site. Another example of that is, let's see, the custom trim message, for instance. So when you launch the Edit Ad, the trim tool, you have the option to show a little pop-up to the user where you might put some legalese, some kind of disclaimer, or maybe some extra help for to let a user know how to use the tool. Well, again, that's custom text that you've come up with. We don't know what it is. It's stored in our database. But you can just copy that text, put it into the language manager and provide your translation. And when you do that, right here, you just put the phrase, put the translation, publish your translations, and it'll be immediately available for your users when they log in next. So it's a really useful tool, and you may want to consider using it if you have advertisers that would be more comfortable with the site in French Canadian, Spanish, or any of those languages that we have. You can add this. It's not a feature that you have to pay extra for. It's included in the site, and we try and make it easy for you to manage. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to our last topic, which is the FAQs. So we try and provide you with a range of options for helping your users and your advertisers, and hopefully these are things that people review, and when they have a question, of course the goal is to get them to find the answer themselves, and that's only as good as the resources that we put into that. So in the Get Help section, we try and do videos. We have a manual that's there, and we also have a very basic set of frequently asked questions. But you can add those yourself. And a new feature is that we've now made them available based on the type of ad. So again, my demo publisher here has print ads, web ads, and tablet ads. So I see these different areas here. You may just see general and for print. Okay, but all you have to do is click Add. Come up with some question. And answer. Okay, and it defaults to the type of ad that I selected in my tab. And you can also associate this, if you want, with a pre-flight item. Okay, you don't have to, but the idea is that you can select a pre-flight item, and I'll show you how that works in my next one. But this now can be edited if you want. Okay, and that's right there. And you can remove if you need to. Okay, well, let's add one and associate it with a particular pre-flight problem. So there's a pre-flight warning that comes up periodically that can be a little confusing. Okay, and there's a common solution for it. You can give keywords if you want. Okay, and here you can select the specific pre-flight warning. Okay, there it is, separation all found in page. Okay, so your users, your advertisers, when they log in, they can see that question. But what makes it even more obvious for them, we don't really expect that they're going to just suddenly get the urge to browse the frequently asked questions. We try and present it where they're most likely going to see it, which is under this area here. And here's the question and answer that I came up with. Okay, so all of ours usually have a recommended fix, but you may find that it helps to augment that with specific information. And note also that this is plural. Okay, you can have more than one frequently asked question assigned to the same pre-flight warning. Okay, so it's a way for you to make that information stand out and to present it in a way that it's right there when the users need it. You know, when you do train your users, when you send information out, I mean, it's a good idea to point out the self-help areas and direct them to those, especially if you put some effort into those. But whenever you can, if you can tie it to a pre-flight item, then that's fine. You also can do things like in this answer, you can provide HTML links. So this is a good example. This is a global one that we've had, but you can link to off-site resources. So if you have a PDF or a website where you provide information to your users about how to prepare their files, simply put that link in your answer, just a regular old HTML link, and that's a resource that they can click. So it's a good way to tie your information back into the site. Okay. If you do that, another small tip in your tag, try and make it so that the link is a pop-up. So it goes, opens a new tab or a new window so that they're not taken away from SendMyAd from the ad portal. Okay. All right. So that's it for the topics we wanted to cover today. We do have a question, and that is, can the custom metadata be incorporated in the ad reports? And the answer is generally yes. The reports are, just to clarify, the custom metadata that you see is what we talked about today is at a user level. And so typically what people are doing is kind of renaming and kind of pulling out and highlighting certain fields. When you print some of the reports, you may have the option to specify custom metadata, but it will probably be picking up the company name for it rather than the username. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's more of a display thing there, and a good kind of tip off for that is when you look at adding one of these new user level fields. Okay, one difference is that I don't have an option in here to make a new type of custom metadata. Unlike the publisher at the company level, where I can make, this was a goofy example, but the weather, this was a pop-up, and I created it as a select menu by giving a data set. So I gave comma-separated terms, which we translate into as a select menu with various options. Okay. But there's nowhere in this area for me to make a new one of those. I can simply select one that the publisher has created and give it a new name. Okay. So this is not a way for a user to track their own set of custom metadata, but it's a way for them to accent what has already been provided and to rename it so it's more useful, and maybe to replace stuff that's not relevant to them that's presented at the company level. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. And then one other question is, can you add your own languages? Right now, the answer to that is no. The best thing to do is if you decide that you need to add, let's say, Russian, talk with us and let us know that that's something that you need. And what we have to do is we have to create sort of the base level language pack. So we add that to our database. We say that it's a language that's available. And then whether we work with you or an outside vendor or however we manage to do it, we'll come up with the base set of translations and make those available. And then once we do that, it'll be available to you and anyone else under the available languages. But there's not like an add language here. You can simply associate an existing language with your site. Okay, well, I think that wraps it up. I thank you for your time and attention today, and we hope that you'll join us next time. These webinars are meant for you, and we hope that the topics are useful. We'd love to have your suggestions for future topics. So if there's anything that you'd like to see covered, new features or old features you're not quite clear about, please send us an email in support or to your sales rep, and we'd be happy to incorporate those into next month's webinar.